everybody, and welcome to the Football Philosophy channel. And this is the ratings show from the AC Milan game on Thursday evening. I'm doing this, I meant to get this done by Friday night stroke Saturday morning at the latest, but I've had a reasonably busy day today. I've not managed to get onto it, and I've also wanted to watch City and Everton, so that game came on at 5:30. I've been watching that game. Everton made a real good fist of it for a good while. Had a really well organised Ancelotti. Sometimes you can just nick a goal, and they did, I won't say they had any proper chances, but they did get the ball in the box a few times. They had a few corners, and sometimes you can just nick a goal from that and then hang on to it. It does happen, but the City were too strong for them. They didn't get the goal that they wanted, and City ended up scoring twice in about the last 7 or 8 minutes, I think it was. So City have gone through. At lunchtime, Southampton went through, so it's up to us tomorrow to join them. Obviously, it's Leicester tomorrow, and Chelsea and Sheffield United. So I imagine Chelsea will get through. I fancy us to get through, but surely ours is the one that's more up in the air. You've got to suggest it's now going to be Southampton, City, Chelsea, and either us or Leicester in the semi-final. The ratings. I'm looking at the evening news ratings again from the AC Milan game, and Dean Henderson in goal. They've given him an 8. They said he made an awkward save from Sailormakers and was called upon to make a convincing stop in the second half from Big Zlatan. They've given him an 8, which is very good. I would say he had a good game. I wouldn't say an 8. I would say a 7 for me. I don't think the save... It was a decent save above his head. It was a little bit similar to the one that he failed to stop at Old Trafford, to be honest. It was a decent save, but again, a little bit like the one at Old Trafford. It's one you'd expect him to save. So I would say he had a good... I always give a keeper a mark of 7 if he keeps a clean sheet, and he did keep a clean sheet, but there wasn't... ridiculous amount of good saves for him to make. So I think a 7 was fine. Juan Basaka, they've given a 7 to. Offered no attacking intensity and was often on the back foot in the first half. Solid amid Milan's efforts to equalise. I think that's fair enough. I would also say that Juan Basaka played well and deserves a 7. Lindelof, they've given it an 8 to. Continued his excellent form, read the game immaculately before and after Zlatan emerged, and I would agree with that as well. I thought Lindelof did have a very good game, and I would agree with an 8 for that. Maguire defended well again next to Lindelof and was a threat in United's attacking set pieces. He needs to be a bit more of a threat, I think, from the set pieces. Continued his habit of performing against the elite. So I know they're an elite club at AC Milan. Quite whether they're an elite team at the minute, I'm not so sure. I think we might have put that game to bed if we'd have played with our full strength back four at Old Trafford. And I'm not just suggesting that we wouldn't have let... Some people sometimes think your back four just means that you're trying to, that their only job is to stop goals. That's the main part of the job, obviously. But when your back four's playing well and they're competent on the ball and they're passing the ball well, confidence can course through the team. So, we rested 2 of our back four, which is 50% of the back four in the home leg. And we never looked really in trouble in Milan. And that might easily have happened at Old Trafford. And, we might have gone on and won that game by a goal or 2 or even possibly 3. I'm not suggesting it would have happened. I'm just saying the stronger your team is, the more chance you've got of that happening for you. So it might have been a completely different game at Old Trafford if all of his favourite back four would have played. Getting back to that, Harry Maguire, an 8. I will agree with that. An 8 as well. Luke Shaw, they've given an 8 to. United's best attacker in the first half. I won't disagree with that either. At one point, he was the furthest forward player, and the burden on him was eased when Pogba came off. I would agree with all that as well. So it's not a bad report by the Manchester Evening News at the minute. So Luke Shaw, an 8. I've agreed with that 8. Scott Mctominay, they've given a 7 to. They've said offered steal in midfield, but for an impressive goal getter, he never looked like getting a goal when United needed one. Changed his game and was much more effective with Pogba on. I don't agree with either of those two things. When I say I don't agree with him, I don't agree with him. I don't like the first point. offered stealing midfield, fair enough, he always does. But for an impressive goal getter, never looked like getting a goal when United need one. To level that criticism at somebody who's mainly a defensive style player, who's known for his work rate, known for his tackling and his heading ability, and well, he scores goals with his head as well, but in defensive situations, I think it's a bit harsh saying he didn't get a goal when we needed a goal. I really do think it's extremely harsh, not worth mentioning. You know, he is a central defensive midfield player. It's almost like saying, "Oh, Juan Basaka let us down today. He never got a goal." I think it's really out of order, that bit. And then they've said he changed his game and was much more effective with Pogba on. I'm not sure about all that, but having said all that, even on defending Mctominay on the things that they've said, they've given him a 7. I thought he had one of his poorer games, Scott McTominay. I think, as I've said before on here, what are we doing when you say, you know, you can take it 2 different ways. Are we comparing a player's ratings to the other player's ratings, or are we comparing a player's performance to his own average performance? So if I was to say he was average, is that for his own performance compared to his own performances, or compared to the other players? But compared to his own normal performance, I would say Scott McTominay was average. I wouldn't say he was 7's good, so I'm giving him a 6. Whereas they've given him a 7. I saw him overrun it a couple of times. He kicked it too far out of his feet. I know his passing lets him down a little bit at times. It's not as bad as people say. It really isn't. But it was a little bit sloppy, I thought, the other night. So Scott McTominay gets a 6 for me. Fred, they've given a 6 to. United's shabby shooter had the only shot on target in the first half. Might have been hooked for Pogba had Rashford not been injured at half time. Improved when Pogba came on and teed him up for the goal. I'm not so sure Fred would have got hooked. I'm really not. I think Ole likes that defensive solidity that McTominay and Fred give us, and even though we needed a goal, you know, your goal can come from all sorts of different places, different angles, different players. I don't think Fred would necessarily have been the one who would have been taken off. I don't think Marcus has been playing particularly well recently, and I think Marcus, and Pogba has played wide for us a few times now. I think Marcus might have been the man who would have got hooked, injured or not. That was, you know, the way I saw it anyway. But they've given Fred a 6, which is just average, and I would agree with that, a 6. Mason, they've given a 6 to. Started at centre forward, was bright at times, but more often isolated. United enhanced their attack with Pogba. They seem to be mentioning Pogba in everybody's comments. Everybody played better. The team did actually play better when Pogba came on. I thought that anyway. But Greenwood 6, which is decent to above average, I would say that's fine. Just a decent game. Bruno a 6. Not sure about that. So bad in the first half, he turned attack into defence. He means, yeah, instead of defence into attack, and was bailed out by Lindelof. Much more at ease when sharing the pitch with Pogba. That's true, he did play a lot better when Pogba came on. If we're comparing people's performances to their own usual performances, I would have to reduce that to a 5. I wouldn't say he had a decent game, Bruno. I would say he was average at best. So I think a 5 for Bruno. They've given him a 6. He was that bad in the first half. He would have had to have played like Johan Cruyff in the second half to haul himself back up to a 6 or a 7. Because in the first half, if I was just marking his first half, honestly, what's a 3? A 3 is very poor, yeah. I think in the first half, I would have to give him a 3. So he'd have to do. He's got a lot to do to get above a 5. So I think a 5 is a fair score for Bruno. Dan James, they've given a 5 to. I'm giving him a 6. I'm sure a lot of people have been waiting for this one. Started brightly when he showed Hernandez a clean pair of heels, but then regressed, constantly woeful in his decision making. The writer doesn't know what he's talking about. This gets levelled at Dan James all the time. He went on a run where he should have passed it to Greenwood, and it would have been a great chance if he would have passed it to Greenwood. I see that go wrong virtually every time United play. When Mason gets into position to put the ball across the box, he cuts in to shoot. I see Marcus cutting in to shoot when he should pass it. I see Bruno playing long balls all the time. The other night, if you're going to mention decision-making, Bruno's decision-making, he must have made 10 bad decisions, and Dan made probably 1, maybe 2 at a stretch. It's just unbelievable what's been... It's something, it's a myth that's going around. When they talk about decision-making, look, you might say, well, it's the important ones that are important. The important ones stick in people's minds. So there was an important one there where James should have passed it. But you're making decisions throughout the game, getting the ball, receiving the ball, finding space, laying it off. Dan James had a perfectly reasonable game. A 6 is a decent game, that's all it is. And I'm saying Dan James had a decent game. And balling him out for not passing it on that one occasion, which I've seen lots of our players do on many occasions, not pass it when they should pass it, and it's just the one occasion. His crossing let him down a little bit, but he did I put a clip on Twitter today of the one in the first minute where he fired it across, and it's just a few people were saying it was behind Mason Greenwood, and I've looked at it closely, it's directly in front of him. Mason should have scored and he missed the ball completely, had an air shot. So I'm not convinced by all this Dan James's decision making. Every time he makes a bad decision, it's going to be jumped upon as if he's made 8 bad decisions. You know, it's not decision making wrong throughout the game. It really isn't, and I've watched it closely. His work rate was fantastic, as it always is. I've had somebody say to me today that he sometimes criticised Fred, and all he does really is work hard. But Dan James is a winger. His job is to get the ball in the box. He did all right. A couple of them weren't so great, but every time you watch a game of football, I don't understand what this is about Dan James. Wingers cross the ball. Every game you watch, if they're asked to cross it, if it's their job to cross it, sometimes teams don't play like that. They cut in and they shoot. But wingers cross balls in football matches that get caught by the goalkeeper easily. It happens all the time. But when Dan James does it, it's like, I don't know, it's like he's a serial killer or something. And some of his crosses are good. He just did 2 or 3 the other week, fired across the 6-yard box, nobody coming in on it. The one to Mason the other day, Mason should have made contact with it. It might have been a goal. And the 2 or 3 that go wrong, that happens to all players, maybe some more than others. It might even happen a bit more often, but he's in the team there. The performances of the team have picked up since Dan James came into the team. That's there in black and white. He's played... I got this wrong the other day, the last time I did a show and I mentioned it. He's played 8 games, of which we've won 5 and drawn 3. That's since he came back into the team. And the 8 games, the 3 draws, one's against the Real Sociedad and one's against AC Milan, but we still got through those games anyway. And the other draw was against Chelsea, and a draw against Chelsea away is not the end of the world. So, and we've won the other 5 games, so the results are going great since he came back in the team. I don't think it's a coincidence. I know I've said this before, I really don't think it's a coincidence. It's the extra balance that we've got in the team now with a player playing on the right who's a natural player. And the fact that he makes the odd bad decision, people are blowing it up out of all proportion. They really are blowing it up out of all proportion. He's far from the worst decision maker in our team. Far from it. So there you go. But I'm still only giving him a 6. He just had a decent game. Not saying he was Johan Cruyff. He just had a decent game. Marcus, they've given a 3-2. They seem to be going in on Marcus a little bit recently. Rushing in backfired. Only lasted half a game and had to come off. Had no impact whatsoever in 45 minutes. By his own standards, I would say he was poor to average. They've given him a 3. I'll just up it to a 4. I would say Marcus gets a 4 for that game. And then Pogba, I always mark a player. Don't forget, I only mark substitutes if they get half a game. If they come on for half an hour or something, I don't even mark them. But Pogba did come on for half a game. Was needed from the start, they've said. That shows a complete lack of understanding of the game of football for me, that comment, straight away. I'll come back to that. Let's read what it says. Was needed from the start. Was needed from the start, but his interval arrival was worth the wait. Okay, that's fair enough. His superb strike lifted United. Superb strike, did lift United. It put United in the driving seat. They started to play better football when he came on. What people are not grasping about this knockout football, and it's just crazy, was needed from the start. So he's suggesting that he should have started. Now, you might not like this, but I'm a great believer in once a game has gone, you don't know what might have happened. It's easy to say we've got a good player there who could have played. It's easy to say that. Of course he could have started. If he would have started, we never know what would have happened. It might have changed the game. It could have changed the game so easily in a bad way. I'm not suggesting it would. This is just how things are. You know, we've won that game 1-0. He's come on at half time. He's scored the goal. It's perfect. It doesn't need to be any different. If he would have started, you know, maybe he would have got dispossessed in the first 10 minutes and we might have conceded a goal. You know, we'll just never know now, will we? It can happen. So don't just think he was needed from the start when the game's been won. If you bring him on for 3 minutes and he scores the winner, he's actually done his job. The manager's done his job. So he wasn't needed from the start. It's a mistake. It really is. And I've had a few people saying, why are you going on? I'm going on about it only because, I'm not going on about it because it's Paul Pogba. I'm talking about football. I'm talking the way I see football. And I don't care who that player is. If he's come off the bench, he scored the only goal of the game. If he was fit for 5 minutes and comes on and scores the only goal of the game, that's fine. The manager's worked it perfectly, absolutely perfectly. And we will never know now if any of those players, so not just him, if any of those players weren't playing, if we'd have had Lionel Messi up front instead of Marcus, we might have lost. You just don't know the moment that player might have lost the ball or might not have been in the right place, and they get hold of the ball, they go up and score. It just changes completely. So once we've won the game, why worry about what could have happened if somebody else? Worry about it if it's gone wrong. This is one of my things about Dan James. Why worry about it after the game? It's going correct. It's going right for us at the minute. You know, we win it. We're keeping a lot of clean sheets and we're winning a lot of our games. And I think Paul will start at the weekend, by the way. I won't go on about that now. I'm going to come back tomorrow when I find out a little bit more. I was going to do that show today, leading up to the Leicester game in the Cup. But I'll do it Sunday morning instead, as I've only managed to do the rating show on the Saturday. So I hope you've enjoyed that show. If you've enjoyed that show, please tell all your friends. Please subscribe. If you didn't enjoy it, don't tell anybody. Keep stum.